Hi, everybody. Karen Roby, Dallin Adams here for Tech Republic. We've been highlighting different companies over the last couple of weeks. Dallin, in the face of COVID-19, one that you've talked with, Vantic, and some really interesting things that they're doing. So let's just start with the company itself, and then we'll talk about what they're doing here during this pandemic.
Sure. Yeah, Vantic, they've kind of found themselves in like a bit of the right place at the wrong time, but also the right time for, business sales. They've historically kind of seen them as a company at the forefront of kind of real-time monitoring solutions. They've worked in the past on kind of digital transformation projects focused. The one thing I specifically looked at for them was a project called WaterBit that was a real-time monitoring solution for like more efficient irrigation systems. And now they've kind of found themselves in a market where different companies, different governments, and different organizations want to use these real-time monitoring solutions for COVID-19 to mitigate the spread of the coronavirus.
All right, so Dallin, when you hear the term people tracking, that's a little bit, it makes us kind of cringe a little bit, right?
Yeah, and they kind of like to focus on this, or I mean, they don't focus on it, but they've kind of broken this down into two kind of channels. You have like asset tracking and then you have people tracking. And the people tracking definitely is the part of it that's a little bit unsettling, especially when you hear like some of the clients, these are governments, these are places of employment,
Mhm.
hospitals, factories, sports venues. And the real question you get to at the very end of it is the idea of what happens after the coronavirus, like once it normalizes. These companies are spending a lot of these governments are spending a lot of money. This isn't just a one-time thing. I think the CEO actually had a quote on that when the interview, and I can't directly quote him, but it was like, you know, we know how they're paying. These are long-term commitments.
Hmm. Yeah, and when we talk about though, and as we're going to see, some of this is it's necessary when it comes to when we're talking about COVID-19 in terms of them tracking, and it some will be necessary as they're trying to figure out when people may be sick and don't realize it yet as they're not showing symptoms. So how do they explain right now how this is going to help as they're going planning to signal when people have a temperature possibly and don't know it and they're trying to enter different places? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, the whole idea of the system is that it just uses the whole spectrum of sensors. Really, it uses thermal imaging, facial recognition, IoT sensors, artificial intelligence. And so, like one specific example that's important to like kind of keep in mind is, say, at an airport, for example, they have systems in place at airports, and or at least I know of one in particular airport, and they will use the sensors, watching passengers kind of move around the terminals, deboarding. You can scan through all the people moving through the terminal, and then you can use the thermal cameras to pinpoint someone who may have a fever. And at that point in time, you can send in a security crew to isolate the individual, pull them away from the general population, and then further kind of quarantine the area, reroute passenger flows so you don't have all of these people passing within 6 feet of this potential, I guess, contagion. And then the next thing you can use is you can use people tracking, and then you can kind of see who is this person been in contact with, who else was on that plane. You can pull that plane off to the side, no longer use it for the rest of that day, week, clean it, disinfect the area, and then kind of continue business operations as usual.
So really down though, it sounds like I mean these systems can be used really anywhere.
Yeah, these systems that they're able to, from the time they get that call to a client to the time like you're pinpointing as someone with a high fever, I mean, it's a matter of weeks, really. um, so yeah, these systems are really adaptable and can be used in a host of environments, from manufacturing settings to, they have clients where they have actually shifted gears. They were working with a client in China, I believe specifically in Shanghai, on these elevators that were originally kind of thousands of elevators that they were contracted to build these systems for. And originally, it was just kind of like efficiency and making sure people are like following the rules of the building while they're inside. And now they're shifting it for COVID applications, and they're kind of seeing that with some clients.
Very interesting. All right. And again, Dallin, this is really all over the world. We're not just talking about North America where this is being set up, right?
Oh yeah. So a lot of the systems that I specifically was kind of digging into and reading about were in Europe and Asia, but it's also important to note that there are systems in place in the United States specifically. And one of those that I thought was most interesting to kind of learn more about was this. They called they didn't release the name of the company. They called it a life sciences company, and they are in the U.S. and they are manufacturing COVID-19 testing kits. And the representative that was on the line said something along the line, when people come to work to like make these kits, they have to come in clean. They have to come in sanitary. They have to come in, without the coronavirus, so they can make these. And
Yeah.
this specific manufacturer has brought on solutions that involve like thermal imaging to tell if employees may have a fever, and if they do have a fever, they're pulled to the side. No longer contaminating the area. There's a specific client in China that was building one of these systems for a factory there, and in that specific system, it's one of the creepy people tracking kind of concepts where it pinpoints a fever, pulls the worker, deploys security officials at the company, deploys some kind of member of the staff to pull the employee aside, dispatch them to a hospital, and then they are essentially barred from re-entering the facility. There's like security measures in place to prevent the individual from coming back into the facility after they've been pulled to the side.
And when you just obviously we can't talk about this without talking about the privacy, feeling like they're intruding on people's privacy a little bit. And this is something that we talk about every day, of course, Dallin. When it comes to technology, is where you draw the line and where are you invading people's privacy. So did they address that at all when you did the interviews here with the folks from the company?
Yeah, the interview was a lot of fun. They were very candid and they answered all my questions. Um, and yeah, you have to check the articles. There's some really like spicy quotes in there. But they were the whole time I was kind of asking them, and like one of the end of the interview, I kind of asked, you're allowing a lot of, a lot of these clients are governments. A lot of a lot of these are private institutions, but a lot of these clients are governments, and you're allowing a lot of data to be collected based on, someone has COVID, what's their temperature, where they are, who are they going, who are they in contact with. I was like, do you accept any responsibility essentially for allowing this data to be collected? And, especially in the post Equifax world where you have data leaks are like a new normal. And in general, the quote that I got from them was along the lines of, you can use a tool to build a house, or you can use a hammer to build a house, or you can use a hammer to kill someone. And they see their tools as something that has the ability to save lives. And I guess for now, that's the kind of where we are. It's like that privacy versus life balance,
Right.
where for now, it's like, if only a couple months ago we were all talking about the existential threat of artificial intelligence and where we're going to go, and now it's like, well, how can we get more of these systems in place to protect us?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Right. Right. There's a kind of gray area there, but when it comes to protecting, people as a whole, there will definitely be a feeling of privacy being invaded. But I guess to some extent, that's just what we'll have to do again to keep people safe and to mitigate the risk. Well, Dallin, I know this article is up on Tech Republic, of course. Really great. Spicy. I like the word that you use there. Some spicy quotes in there. I know that was an interesting piece to put together. And of course, we've got a great deal of coverage there that you can find, everyone, on Tech Republic. And we hope that you will check it out. Bye-bye, everybody.